Under a starry night, the avid followers of Ash Heath keep chanting his name in unison. As they keep worshipping the young man sitting on his throne, they didn't notice that behind his cold and stern expression, he was already panicking inside. Just a few hours ago, he was pulling an all-nighter at his mobile game company. Trying to keep his cool, he wonders where he is, since the people aren't speaking Chinese, but he can somehow understand them. After trying to make sense out of what's happening, the young man concluded that he has transmigrated. He tries to feel his new body, and is amazed that he can move it like it is a perfect fit. He also realizes that he has the same first name as the body he now occupies and wonders if it is the reason why he transmigrated. However, there's just one problem. He doesn't remember any memories Ash has. From his observation, he has to be someone holy, and the people revere him. He must not slip up and feels nervous because he has no idea what to do next. He then looks at the followers of Ash Heath as if waiting for him to say something. He tells himself that the followers won't listen to him even if he tries to explain that he is a victim too, and that they will likely punish him. Just then, the followers continue their incantation, calling for the great Ash Heath. Different hues of light gather around Ash as his cult continues to call on his sacred name that will save their world. Suddenly, he kneels down and receives blessings from different beings. The Lord of Billion Lights and ruler of battle, courage, and honor grants him unparalleled strength. The sovereign of snow, rain, and destiny, and the ruler of wisdom and destiny grants him the angel of wisdom. Meanwhile, the ruler of equality and sharing grants him the angel of everlasting health. Lastly, the ruler of fantasy, love, and joy grants him unequaled charm. The endless power he receives starts to surge through him. He realizes that it isn't bad after all, that he was transmigrated to another world as a hero. For him, it is starting to be a blessing as he actually became a hero chosen by 4 gods and worshipped by countless followers. Soon, he will save the world from monsters and marry a beautiful princess. His daydream is cut short when his supporters warn him that the mad hunters have already found their lair and that everything now depends on him for their survival. He then smirks upon hearing the name of their enemies clearly. They are the villains, as their name suggests. He unsheathes his sword and tells his followers to lead the way so he can finish the enemies. Suddenly, a group of beautiful knights invades the place, challenging Ash to a duel. Ash feels the surge of power within him, gifted by the blessings of the gods. He tries different moves and powers he got from the divine beings and thinks of the name of the move but holds himself back as he wants to keep it low-key. He swings his sword and is amazed by the space-slicing sword aura. However, the hunters retaliate in a much more powerful way, causing most of Ash's followers to get fatally injured. Ash is beyond stunned as he is sent flying by the hunters' attack, realizing that he is nothing compared to his enemies despite the blessings from the 4 gods. Taken aback by what just happened, Ash realizes that he acted recklessly when he is just a regular guy, reincarnated from another world, and knows nothing about the current one. For a short time, he forgot that he was once a corporate slave beaten down by society and acted rashly. The hunter identifies himself as Gerald, a member of the Crime Hunting Bureau. He states Ash's multiple crimes, kidnappings, murders, robberies, and the 4 Pillars cult case. The man tells him that if he has complaints, he can visit the Kaimon branch front desk and file a formal complaint to the mayor's office. The hunter looks down at him with a mocking smile, telling Ash that he should not have fought a tri-wing hunter like him because he is incomparable against his 4 double-winged chaos spirits. He then puts handcuffs on Ash and declares that he is now under arrest as the leader of the 4 Pillars cult. That day, he made a major contribution to the city's safety because Ash was finally put behind bars. Later, at the Crime Hunting Bureau, Ash is being interviewed by a staff member. He answers the basic questions like his name and gender, but claims that he lost most of his memories, so he can't answer their questions. Another hunter named Amy is pissed off that Ash is treating them like fools since he is evading the questions. Another hunter chimes in that he has a level 1 interrogation license and that he can make Ash confess no matter what. Just then, Gerald cuts in and tells him that he should back down and burn his license. He reminds them that they should be careful around Ash because they can't treat him badly according to the Human Rights Act, and since the Parliament is watching them closely. Triggered, Amy frantically asks for a memory mage so they can extract their captive's memories. However, Gerald reveals that the memory mage won't come even though memory evidence is crucial for them in building the case. He explains that Ash has seen the 4 pillars, and this means that he can't have his memories extracted since no cultist from their group has ever been affected by the extraction. He adds that memory corruption is the 4 pillars' speciality, remembering that 134 years ago, a memory mage extracted a cultist's memories and unknowingly got converted into a believer of the 4 pillars, making the cult grow their number and rise from the ashes. Furious, Amy asks how they should move on from the case since they can't get any testimonies or extract memories. Gerald assures her that there is a slow death sentence more suited to evil like Ash and that their interrogation is just for show, reminding her about the public trial with the entire city as the jury on the 15th at 8 p.m. Frustrated, Amy storms out of the room, declaring that she's done watching the interrogation. Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, Ash is given 15 minutes every now and then to take a break because of the Human Rights Act. Gerald then quietly observes Ash and feels like he is not lying, and seems to really be an amnesiac man based on how he panics, gets confused, and fears. He contemplates that according to the Human Rights Act, if someone has symptoms of losing their memories, they can be exempt from criminal punishment, and if a memory extraction proves Ash did lose his memory, he can be released as innocent. However, in the end, they can't use a memory mage, and the only option left is to have the public judge Ash. Ash ponders what could have happened if he was reincarnated as a hero instead of a cult leader who got mobbed immediately by a whole pack of heroes upon his arrival in a new world. It was such a shame that he was transmigrated when hunters were closing in on the evil cult group that he is the leader of. He remembers the evidence presented to him while he was being interrogated, and he almost puked upon seeing them, confirming that the body of the cult leader he is in is really the vicious one. He then wonders how they will execute him, still grateful that he experienced good treatment while being interrogated, and hopes that they have abolished the death penalty. Suddenly, he feels his neck getting hot all of a sudden, and a system message pops up saying that he is invited as a special guest on Blood Moon Judgment. Albeit confused, he begins to type his reply, but the system informs him that he is in arrest and interrogation status, so messaging for him has been disabled. He realizes that he can control the messaging system using his mind, and that it looks like a version of a smartphone. However, all the features are now locked, and there is no usable app. As he's about to close it, he discovers that there is one usable app called Aurora's Sorcerer Manual. He is surprised to see the name as it is the mobile game that his company made way back in his original world. He remembers leading the team for the game's planning and operations. He then downloaded the demo and worked through the night, and the next thing he knew, he was transmigrated. Since this could be a key, he moves the app to his home screen and thinks of it as his transmigration cheat. He then launches the app and immediately gets bombarded by many warning signs. Since there is no network, he almost gives up but then receives a message that the search system is working normally. Upon checking, the things that only work are the gacha and top-up systems. He then tries the 2 active buttons and is directed to a top-up screen. However, he doesn't have any money with him, so he can't do anything about the game. He tries once more, but it still asks for money, making him remember that his company made the game. As he gives up, the check-in system gets restored, and he successfully checks in. He then gets 1 source crystal, which is used to perform a 10x operator search and guarantees at least 1 operator per use. Desperate, he avails of the operator. Wanting to avoid the blood judgment, he closes his eyes shut, hoping that he will get a strong operator. Upon seeing the skills that the character Berserker Sword Maiden gets, Ash lets out a frustrated groan, as even the starting character needs slow leveling to be usable. He then sees another operator and checks it, surprised to see that the character flashed before him is himself. He recognizes that the game seems to reference him and that he can share experience points with other operators. With this, he figures out that if he can train the Berserker Sword Maiden, he can get stronger as she gets stronger, and this might be his chance to escape the prison. He then checks the inventory of his items and deems that he got the perfect training items for his operator. He then discovers that the operator's mood affects the training gains, so the better the mood of the character, the more powerful it can be. He has to take care of the girl's mood and put a balance in her life, despite the fact that he is about to be executed. After improving the girl's mood, he then registers the Berserker Sword Maiden into the Sorcerer Manual. As he confirms, the training for the Berserker Sword Maiden inside the game starts. Ash tries to patiently wait for it, but the tiredness from the day's events consumes him. Meanwhile, in another place 3 hours behind Ash's time zone, a young girl who had gone to bed early for her skincare routine suddenly finds herself inside a dream. She stands in front of a man who has a sword impaled in his chest. Sonia tries to drink water in a nearby lake and discovers that it's sweet, so she must be dreaming. She wonders why a corpse is in her dream and is curious about who he is. She then grabs the sword impaled in him, thinking how it perfectly suits her, like it was forged just for her. Just then, the corpse moves and slowly rises from his slumber, freaking out Sonia. He introduces himself as the final observer and assures her that he is not an enemy, so she doesn't have to panic. However, after a beat, an evil smirk slowly creeps onto his face, and he declares that he will kill her. In the next 72 hours, she can only leave the dream if she manages to defeat him. Threatened, Sonia braces for the attack as the final observer unsheathes his sword and attacks her in a swift move, telling her afterward that she has 10 seconds to rest. Sonia is stunned, unsure if she was attacked just now since there is no wound on her body, but the pain felt real. Seeing her confusion, the final observer explains that they share the same dream and that her 10 seconds are up. He then slashes her again and declares that she has another 10 seconds to rest. With her sword out of reach, she decides to dive into the lake, thinking that the observer can't reach her. Holding her breath underwater, she starts to swim away from her enemy, who thinks her action of running away is shameful and useless. She starts struggling to breathe and manages to surface above the water to breathe for a second. However, the observer still manages to slice her off by throwing his sword and attacking her underwater. She feels her jaw, making sure that it's still there, while the observer mocks her for not learning her lesson when she died in his hands so many times. Seeing his smug face, Sonia starts to get frustrated, but to his surprise, she kneels in front of him and begs him to spare her. Her eyes brim with tears as she begs him to stop torturing her, promising that she will be obedient. The observer smirks, telling her that he will only be satisfied if she manages to defeat him. Triggered, she marches toward him and demands to know why he is so invested in killing her when she didn't even do him wrong. She tries to reason that there are far more evil people he can take revenge on. She insists that she is just a fragile girl who knows nothing. However, the observer tells her that she had wronged him before and proceeds to attack her again. While trying to rest, Sonia asks if staying in the dream for 72 hours would eventually make her escape her situation. The observer confirms this, but to death, 72 hours is eternity, and he asks her if she can endure dying over and over. He also questions whether she can trust anything he says when he keeps on killing her. More than that, even if she survives the night, there's no guarantee that she can survive the night after. He then grabs his sword again and tells her that after she has tasted death, she shouldn't be hoping for miracles. In one swift move, the observer swings his sword in her direction, but in a surprising twist, Sonia is able to neutralize the attack with her own sword. Sonia continues to be defeated multiple times. For her next battle, she thinks about the great swordsmasters who pushed swordsmanship to the extreme, so much so that even their casual swings struck fear in everyone. She tells herself that the observer is nothing like those swordsmasters, which means she still has a chance against him. The cut wound she inflicted on the observer magically healed itself. Sonia smiles, seeing this as proof that the dream is leaving her no room for an advantage. She starts the battle by charging in. As she predicted, the observer opens with his usual starting strike, so she is able to block it. They get into a clash of multiple slashes, all while Sonia counts to 5. The moment she reaches 5, she makes a strong slice that the stance leaves an opening for the observer to attack her. Sonia smiles as she sees this coming and evades it with a sidestep. While the observer is mid-swing, Sonia sees an opening to slice him. She declares that she has learned his moves after dying so many times by his hand. She makes her strike, which is so powerful that it pushes the observer back against a wall. The huge cut the observer receives, then heals instantly. Sonia asks if hitting him counts as his defeat. The observer answers that it does and congratulates her. She sighs in relief, only for the observer to tell her that she still needs to defeat him while he holds 2 swords. He grabs another sword and makes a two-sword fighting stance. He declares, "This is the beginning of the second half," and warns her that there won't be any 10-minute rest periods this time. Sonia then hears someone calling her name and wakes up from her dream, looking exhausted. Her roommate Ingrid tells her that it is already 7 a.m. and that she needs to get ready for general education class. Sonia tells her she thinks she had a nightmare. Ingrid does not see this as a big deal and leaves for class. Sonia goes through her morning routine and goes to class. She is one of many students in the lecture hall, facing the professor on stage. As she writes down her notes, she thinks about her experience with the observer and whether it was all really just a dream. She remembers how, when she finally defeated he warned her that her life was just about to begin. Sonia promises not to let the observer control her life. Meanwhile, Ash has just woken up in his luxury suite deep within Cayman City's shattered lake prison. He is confused as to why he feels so tired and beaten down despite a full night's sleep. He checks his hollow screen, and a notification from the Sorcerer Manual game informs him that his bond with the Berserker Sword Maiden has deepened. He is surprised that arranging training strengthens bonds. He is glad that he has already pre-planned her activities and wants his Sword Maiden to keep grinding. Meanwhile, Sonia feels an aching pain in her chest. Despite this, she stands up to answer the professor's question with a cheerful smile. The students are impressed that she answered the tough question correctly, especially one boy who whispers about her beauty and intellect. Sonia introduces herself to the manga readers and tells them about her humble origins, coming from a small village. She remembers completing a basic education course, which led to her admission to Swordflower University. She is proud to say that she was the only person from her hometown to be admitted to the university in the last 20 years. On the day she first graced the school grounds, people whispered about her appearance as a country bumpkin as she passed by. After a month, she learned to do makeup and coordinate her clothing while also perfecting a city accent, transforming into the standout student she is today. Thanks to her good looks, she gained several part-time jobs and became popular. She joined many school activities and hosted multiple events, becoming a school celebrity. As she walks the campus grounds, she recalls her first step into the university and how naive she looked back then. She goes outside the campus gate to look for someone. She finds her mother, who calls her Linda. Sonia tells her to use her new name. The daughter is excited to show her mother around the city and takes her on a train ride. As they ride, Sonia shows her mother the same view of clean streets, towering skyscrapers, and sleek luxury cars she saw when she first arrived. She remembers how overwhelmed she was to see well-mannered people and lead billboards that played advertisements day and night. Now she observes how happy her mother looks seeing the city view. Sonia remembers how her mother raised her alone after her drunken and violent father died. She remembers her mother doing all the manual labor on their farm so that Sonia had all the time in the world to study. Sonia feels lucky, as other kids like her worked in factories and spent their entire lives in that small town. As she shows her mother more of the city, she is determined to let her enjoy it as much as possible. Sonia brings her to a food truck, then to a clothing store where she offers to buy her mom a dress. She then showed her mom a gourmet restaurant, but her mom did not want to eat there. Later, they sit on a bench in the park, eating snacks beside a fountain. Later on, Sonia accompanies her mother to the train station for her journey back to their small town. Before she leaves, Sonia asks her to stay one more night. Her mother refuses, saying she is not very comfortable in the city. Sonia promises to bring her to the city again, someday, and give her a life of luxury. Her mom holds her hand and tells her she believes in her and that she can do it. She advises her daughter to remember that no matter what happens, she can always visit home, where a warm meal is always waiting for her. She tells Sonia that she thinks the city is too complicated and that it might be better to go home and live a quiet life. She gives her daughter a bag of money, telling her that she doesn't spend any money back home anyway. As the mother boards the train, she assures her daughter that she is doing fine. Sonia checks the contents of the bag and sees that there is also candy inside. Just as she puts the money in her side bag, a man approaches her from behind. He pulls out a small razor and uses it to cut a hole in the bag. Sonia chops the man's hand, making him drop the razor. Without even looking at him, Sonia leaves the train station. She goes to the middle of the busy streets to admire the lights and bustle of the city. She tells herself that the complexity of the city is where she belongs. It's late at night, and Sonia is trying to convince the guard at her university to let her in despite it already being after curfew. After attempting to appeal to his sympathy, she is finally let in. As she walks across the campus, she smiles, knowing her beauty was the weapon that got her inside. She reflects on how beauty is power in their world, and believes hers is a primary reason she has been able to squeeze into high society. Walking up the stairs to her dorm, she silently thanks her mother for the genes that helped her fit in. As she nears her dorm room, she hears one of her roommates talking about how late Sonia is, guessing that she is probably flirting with some rich guy. Sonia puts her ear to the door to better hear her hateful roommate, who continues to speak badly about her. The girl inside then mentions seeing Sonia with her mother outside the campus, speculating that her mother must be ashamed of her daughter. This provokes Sonia's anger, and she gets ready to turn the knob and confront them. Just as she is about to do so, she hears a loud clang that silences the talking girl. Ingrid then opens the door, says good evening to Sonia, and leaves. Sonia looks inside and sees a fresh punch mark on the punching bag next to the door. She realizes Ingrid punched it to shut up the gossips. The two people left in the room are her roommate Lois and Lois's little lapdog, Adele. Sonia explains that Lois is the daughter of a local merchant who always makes passive-aggressive insults about Sonia's background. Sonia recalls how she always gets more attention from guys than Lois, no matter how much Lois acts like she is the more beautiful of the two. When Sonia landed the host role for a major event, Lois's hatred for her only grew. After that, Lois constantly organized events for the water magic majors and took classmates to high-end restaurants while deliberately leaving Sonia out. Due to these social maneuvers, more guys eventually pursued Lois. Lois ended up liking a senior who, in turn, tried to pursue her. Sonia then intentionally bumped into the guy, which led to him pursuing her instead. She ultimately rejected the senior, knowing that Lois's pride would never allow her to pursue a guy that even a country bumpkin wouldn't date. In Sonia's mind, she helped Lois dodge away from a boring guy. Sonia harbors ambitions of finding a man to provide a shortcut into high society. To achieve this, she wants to become a water sorceress because her research showed that water sorcerers are the most likely to end up as noble wives. She plans to use Swordflower University's reputation for producing elite sword, wind, and water sorcerers to graduate as a top-tier water sorcerer. She imagines meeting a nobleman who will introduce her to his mother. She has decided to avoid being a sword sorcerer, believing a strong and muscular physique is a disadvantage for women in her pursuit. She envisions a future where she summons her first water spirit by next year and fully awakens her silver wings before graduation to become a wing sorcerer. Then, she will find her way into a campus event at Truth University to reel in a young nobleman. She explains that Truth University is the #1 university in Galaxis, where everyone is rich and powerful, making it the perfect place to find a potential boyfriend. As she contemplates her ambitions, she studies from her book while removing her makeup. She thinks about how much time and money maintaining her appearance requires, and wholeheartedly believes she will land a husband from high society and bring her mom into a noble woman's life. She is then startled by a voice telling her to focus on practicing with a sword. She turns around to see where the voice came from and sees the observer. He encourages her to speak to him using only her mind's voice. Sonia looks around and sees that Lois and Adele can't see the observer, despite the man standing right next to them. The observer tells Sonia that he is not her enemy. He shows her a bottle of green fluid, which he says she needs to drink. Sonia tells him that there is no way she will drink it. The observer then pours the fluid on the ground, but instead of spilling, it magically ends up in Sonia's throat. The drink somehow moves her body to stand up. The observer shows her a wooden sword and tells her she needs to practice with it. She tells him over and over with determined eyes that she will not do it. However, her body suddenly dresses itself. She grabs her wooden sword and leaves the room. As she walks through the hallway outside, Sonia can hear Lois complaining about how she must be trying to hit on some senior who majors in sword sorcery. Sonia ends up at the sword training hall, where many trainees are practicing their sword play on armored dummies. This includes Ingrid, who is already sweating. Ingrid is so proud of her progress that she thinks she will be able to hit the 10th ring by next month and summon a sword spirit. She controls herself from being cocky and reminds herself that she needs to grind to get better. Sonia enters the room, making every sword practitioner turn to look at her. As she walks past them, they wonder why she is at the training grounds. Sonia then starts hitting one of the dummies with her wooden sword. Ingrid sees from her technique that she is still unsteady and sluggish. Ingrid reflects that female sword sorcerers need calloused hands and muscular bodies to get stronger, and wonders if Sonia is ready for that. She then wonders if Sonia is doing this to get a boy, and realizes that her target must be Felix, the sword magic apprentice, who is watching her train right now. Ingrid notes that Felix is the son of the Voslada family, one of the pillars of the Stellaris Council and top-tier nobility. She recalls that his father, Duke Voslada, controls the most advanced steelworks in Stellaris, making him one of the most significant and powerful figures in the nation. Ingrid worries that Sonia is pursuing a player. Regardless, she is happy to get another sword-loving buddy. She continues to watch Sonia practice with the magic dummy and realizes that she has already hit the edge of the first ring of the center target after just a few minutes. Looking closely, Ingrid sees that while Sonia's moves are still rough and tiring, she is strictly following the sword magic manual. She worries that if Sonia continues, she will be exhausted in a few minutes. She starts counting Sonia's hits to help her keep track. After hundreds, Ingrid has lost count and is now laser-focused on her friend's practice. After a while, the entire training hall is looking at her in awe. The crowd estimates that it must have been 90 minutes since she started, and that she has already passed 2,400 hits. Felix's girlfriend, Cecilia, enters the room, thinking everyone must be gathered around her boyfriend because he is doing something impressive. She is surprised to see that Felix is one of the people staring at Sonia. She can tell from his face that he can't take his eyes off her. Cecilia looks at Sonia and assumes she has put on makeup to attract boys. She worries that Sonia is targeting Felix with her sword act and plans to drag her boyfriend away quickly. Cecilia asks why everyone is looking at Sonia. Felix informs her that Sonia came in an hour and a half ago as a newbie with no proper sword stance, but now she can cut through 9 rings of a target with a single sword strike. Cecilia asks if she must have just been pretending to be a beginner. Felix answers that he thought the same thing and watched her training to see when she would hit a bottleneck. He admits that after an hour and a half of watching her, his initial skepticism has completely turned into admiration. Cecilia feels threatened that a girl can capture Felix's attention so easily. She then realizes that training for an hour and a half straight is impossible. She notes that even Felix can only train for 3 hours with breaks in between. Cecilia looks around and sees all the men, who are usually only obsessed with training, stopping to cheer Sonia on as she continues striking the training dummy. Cecilia lets go of Felix's arm, believing she has just suffered a total defeat to Sonia in the game of capturing Felix's interest. Finally, Sonia hits the 10th ring on the target. Everyone is on the edge of their seats watching her. With the 10th ring hit, Sonia's dummy shatters. The crowd goes wild with cheers. Now Sonia rests. She realizes that she is now a lot closer to summoning a sword spirit and becoming a winged sorcerer. She can't believe that her dream of a worry-free life is just around the corner. Ingrid brings her some water. Suddenly, Sonia feels a liquid rush down her throat. She looks around and sees Felix. Sonia can see the observer behind Felix. He has just poured a bottle of drink on the floor, just like before. The observer tells her that she can't rest yet and that she needs to beat Felix first. The observer tells Sonia that he just wants to set up a fight between her and the strongest person in the room. He is even happy to see that the strongest person just so happens to be a noble, since he loves it when nobles get beaten to a pulp. Sonia asks to switch to a different person, since she does not want to get involved with Felix. She explains that she knows Felix is a playboy at Swordflower University. She remembers always seeing him with a luxury car and changing girlfriends every 3 days. In her notes, she wrote that Felix has a habit of collecting women. She also finds it suspicious that the son of the Duke of Voslada ended up at Swordflower University instead of Truth University, which implies he must have been involved in some kind of political mess. She tells the observer that she believes Felix is a villain. Unfortunately for her, the observer thinks it is perfect for her to face someone like him. He advises her to smash the sword prodigy and kick the Stellaris noble to the curb. Despite Sonia telling him that she will never do something like that, she still points her wooden sword at Felix and challenges him to a duel. The crowd goes wild. Cecilia is internally angry, believing that Sonia is doing this to tie herself to Felix. At the same time, Sonia is internally repeating that she will not face Felix. Externally, her body is still pointing her sword at him. Ingrid reminds Sonia that she is still tired after 2 hours of training and proposes they battle tomorrow instead. Felix insists they need to fight now. He reasons that she is the most talented person he has ever seen and only the second to make him feel fear. He believes that if he waits until tomorrow, he will no longer have the courage to draw his sword against her. Felix pulls out his sword and points it at Sonia, declaring he will defeat her tonight, no matter what. Everyone can see that Felix is using the wave sword fighting stance. Sonia recalls that the Voslada family is famous for their 4 secret sword stances that can summon spirits, and the wave stance is one of them. Sonia assumes an ordinary sword stance ready to fight. She complains to the observer that there is no point in winning against Felix if he is just controlling her body anyway. She bargains, asking for control of her body back so she can find someone else to fight. The observer reveals that he was never in control of her body to begin with, shocking her. He elaborates that she trained with her sword on her own because last night in her dream, she defeated him and realized her talent for the sword. He analyzes that she came to the training hall to push herself to her limit, so that Ingrid and the others could see she has a talent she can be proud of, aside from her looks. Sonia charges at Felix. As they exchange blows, the observer reminds Sonia that she challenged the boy on her own because she hated him from the beginning for being the school's hot topic. Felix can tell from his opponent's movements that she is strong, but he continues his offensive, confident that Sonia is still no match for his wave sword style. His multiple strikes force Sonia back. As this happens, the observer reminds her that no matter how talented she is, Felix is still unbeatable because of his wave stance. He hypes her up by emphasizing that there are people born with everything who will outshine her in every way. This drives her to keep up with Felix's movements, making him wonder where she is getting her stamina. Felix decides he needs to end the fight and charges energy within his body. As the light brightens the room, the observer continues to tell Sonia that she gripped the wooden sword, went to the training grounds of her own free will, and challenged the strongest person in the room just to prove she is no worse than anyone. Suddenly, to everyone's shock, Sonia copies Felix's wave stance. The crowd marvels at how she learned the same stance after just seeing it. Cecilia thinks Sonia's plan is to humiliate Felix, then let herself lose to promise a next duel and increase their chances of getting close. Both opponents charge at each other for a final move. A loud sound comes from their clash. A piece of a broken wooden sword lands on the floor. It is Sonia's wooden blade that broke. The crowd looks at Felix's left shoulder and sees a wave sword spirit, impressed that he was able to summon his life-bound spirit mid-battle. Ingrid encourages Sonia, telling her she will also be able to summon a spirit soon. Sonia tells everyone that she did not lose, but the crowd thinks she is just being stubborn.